What's going on, guys? It's Sippin Kabani. You're on my feed, so you should know who I am by now. Running a few minutes late again this week. I think this is week 5 that we're doing this installment of Sippin Tea with Kabani. What's up? Took me a few minutes to get online so I was trying to sit at the couch, do something a little bit different for the background, but I don't think the lighting worked out, so I had to move and back to where I usually sit, actually. So it's Sunday, 11 o'clock, late again. I've got my tea here ready to go. This time, I'm gonna actually try to sip on it while I have this chat with you guys. I am drinking more David's tea. This is called birthday cake. I don't know if you can see this here, birthday cake. So it actually, if you can see inside of this, it actually has those sprinkles that you get from like Tim Hortons on those birthday cake donuts. I tasted one of them. It actually tastes pretty much the same. So see how this one goes. Actually pretty good. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to talk about something a little bit different than I usually do. I still think it does all tie in together. Usually I come on and we talk about real estate issues, real estate matters, things happening in real estate in general. And I want to shift gears a little bit today, and I want to talk a little bit about finance, personal finance. And I think that this is very relevant to us right now, especially because, you know, the last few times I've been on, I made these comments about, you know, Canadian household debt levels. And, you know, the debt levels are pretty high. There are somewhat uncertain times ahead of us. Like, no one really knows how this thing is really going to go. Everyone has an opinion. Who's right or wrong, I have no idea. But I think what we can do is that we could try to remove some of the uncertainty by controlling what we can control. So whatever is going to transpire in the marketplace to a certain degree is something that we're not going to be able to control. So I think that what we can do is control the controllable, whatever's on our side to control. So that's where personal finance really comes into play. And this can help in a lot of different ways. Obviously, you know, to save up for a house, or, you know, to move or furnish your house, or build a deck, or whatever you're going to do. But I think it's very important to be looking at our numbers. So personally, so I kind of broke this out into 5 sections. I don't want to take forever to get this information out to you guys, so I'm going to try to hit these 5 sections. And then what I really would like to hear is what you guys do as well. If you guys don't mind sharing with me what you guys do in terms of budgeting for yourselves, maybe I can pick up some ideas off of you guys. If you have questions for me about details of what I do, I don't mind sharing it with you guys either. So the first thing is budgeting. And when I mean budgeting, I don't mean budget in your head. You look at your account every month or whatever and you say, okay, well, I'm going to have this much because I'm getting paid here and here, and this is how I'm going to kind of go through things. That's not good enough, in my opinion. I think what you have to have is you have to have a forecast of how it's going to look. So what I like to do is that at the, you know, just before the end of each month, what I look at is that, hey, the following month, what are my expenses looking like? So I actually try to forecast all of my expenses. What are my mortgage payments? What are my property taxes? What are my utilities? What are my groceries? What are my, you know, car payment, insurance payments? You know, how much money am I going to spend on leisure or entertainment, these type of things? I try to factor in all of these things. And even what I try to do is I try to factor in stuff that, you know, I want to do in the future. So if I have a bigger project kind of going on, something I want to save for, that is also kind of budgeted within that as well. And when we do this budgeting once a month, or like when we come up with this budget once a month, it doesn't mean that you do this once a month and you forget about it and hopefully everything kind of works out. What I do is that I constantly look at it. So I have my forecast, and then I open my account and I see what's kind of going through. I kind of check mark it. The way I do it is I write down all of my expenses in one column, or like items in one column, what I expect it to cost me in another column. And then at the end of that month, I actually go in, or during the month while these expenses are happening, I go in and I add in what the actuals are. So I know where my variance is. Listen, you might think that you spend, you know, $100 on outside food, but if you run this example, you might find out you're actually spending $300 on outside food. And that's a big difference when it comes down to your budgeting and savings. So yeah, budgeting, get the budget out of your head and onto paper. I think it's very important. like I said, budget everything a month in advance, know where your money is going to go before you get the money, and then track it to make sure that it's working out that way. And I mean, track it. I like to track it, to be honest, every few days. I log on to my, my bank app, and I just kind of make sure things are kind of flowing the way they are. And, I have my hard expenses, and I have a credit card that I use for other things because I still want to collect points. I'm sure we'll be able to travel one day. So, and then I keep a tab on that. And when levels start to get a little bit higher, I start to tell myself, okay, hey, I gotta like cool it down over here because it's not making sense. So, so budgeting, I would say, is something you gotta look into for every month, and then keep doing it. Other than that, I would say number 2 for me is to like auto save. And what I mean by automatically saving is this. I really believe that you got to pay yourself before you pay anybody else. So if you actually take out money automatically when you get paid, it's an easier way of doing it because you're going to be forced to do some savings that way. So the way I like to do things, and the way I've done it before when I work corporately, I run my own business right now, so sometimes it is tougher. But even when I work corporately before, I would get paid bi-weekly. So what I would do is I would force myself to save. So the way I did that was I would take out a certain amount of money before I paid my bills, before I did any kind of spending or anything else like that, and I just completely took it out of the equation. There's a couple of ways you can do this. One of the ways, and the way that I did it, was I had a mortgage at the time. So what I did was, if my mortgage payment on a monthly basis was, $1,000, I would call the bank and tell them, hey, you know what, increase my mortgage payment to $1,100 or $1,200. So, at the end of the day, or at the end of the month, or beginning of the month, whenever your payment comes out, they are going to actually take that money out of your account, and you're not going to have a say in it. The money is gone. So that was a forced savings. The other thing I suggest to people what to do is that, if you get paid bi-weekly, get your bank, set up a RRSP, or set up a separate savings account. And what you do is you get your bank to, you set it up with your bank to automatically take it out of the account that you get paid in and automatically put it into a savings account the next day or the same day. So it's not even in your face. A little bit of an example I kind of worked out for you guys is that, if you get paid $50,000 a year annually after taxes on a bi-weekly basis, like after all deductions, and if you live in Ontario, roughly you would be getting about $1,500, $1,490 bi-weekly. And what I would suggest over there is that take out about 2%. So if you take out 2% out of your $1,490, it's about $30 a month, or a bi-weekly. It's $30 bi-weekly. I'm pretty sure, I know some people are tight out there, but I'm pretty sure you could try to get away with putting away $30 out of the $1,500 that you would get. So let that go in automatically. And now, if we look at that out for the year, something like that in 1 year, if you did that for, you'd be actually saving a total of like $1,550. And that's without any type of interest or anything. That's just simply taking the money out on a bi-weekly basis and saving that $30. So at the end of the year, you would have $1,550 if you just took out $30 on a bi-weekly payment. Whether you want to go on vacation with that money, you want to save it up towards something else, that's your call. So look at it this way, okay? If there's 2 people, if you guys are married, couple, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you guys are doing, and there's 2 of you guys that are making $50,000, and if both of you guys take out this 2%, so you're going to be basically together taking out $60 bi-weekly. And when you do something like that, you're going to end up with about $3,100 a year. So $3,100 a year, you try to do that for 5 years, you're going to be with $15,500 in 5 years. And you know what, if you end up with $15,500 in 5 years for just saving $30 bi-weekly, obviously the prices of real estate are going up, but that would be roughly a 5% down payment on $300,000 property right now. So these are simple ways I think of trying to get your savings going on, and you got to pay yourself in advance. Even small things like this may seem insignificant, like $30, but I think that it will become more, because when you start to see what you're able to accumulate, it's a mental thing. So when you start to say, hey, I can do this, and this is the same way I kind of did it. First, my mortgage payment, I raised it $50. Okay, it threw me off a little bit. Then you get balanced up, and then you're like, hey, I can rejig this. So you add another 50, you do another 50. So maybe you start off with 2%, something that's easy for you to start off with, but then you slowly, gradually increase it, and it can actually become a bigger deal. It's a mentality that you're trying to develop, a habit essentially that you're trying to develop by doing something like this. So I would always pay myself before I pay anybody, any bills, anything. The third thing is that cut out all unnecessary expenses. So I did the same thing. At the beginning of May, I stopped buying outside food. Now, look, I know, we're in a pandemic right now and, we have to support local businesses and stuff like that. And I'm totally on board with that. I'm the first person to try to help businesses around me to succeed. But you have to take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of yourself, I tell this to everybody, you can't do anything for anybody else either. So I would say cut out all of the unnecessary expenses. Buying food outside is unnecessary expense. I had a horrible habit, I would tell you, of leaving my house and instantly driving to Tim Hortons before I went anywhere. I would be going to see my brother or my mom, which is a 7-minute drive away. And the first thing I would do is I would get out of my car, or I would get into my car from home. I would drive to Tim Hortons, get a coffee, and then I would show up, to my mom or my brother's place. And it's silly. It doesn't even make sense. I just spent $2 for really no reason, and it adds up. So I did this exercise, and I think I was spending, I hate to say, but almost like $120 a month at Tim Hortons. And now I'm just kind of saving that information. So, or that money. So I really believe it's about cutting out unnecessary expenses that you don't need. And like I said, support the economy for sure and the local businesses, but you got to support yourself first. So cut out all the fat. The other thing that is actually, another example of something I've done is that, I had a Mercedes C43 before, and that lease was coming up. If I wanted to get the same car again, it was going to be, quite expensive. So I went into another car. It's a Cadillac. I'm not a huge fan of this car right now. I thought it would have been okay, but I actually hate it a lot more than I like it right now. But you know what? At the end of the day, I ended up saving something like $300 a month on the payment. So what did I do with that $300? I have another investment property that's joined to my business. So I actually, went online. I increased my mortgage payment on that property to $300. So I'm not spending it on a car that's really not going to do much for me in the future, but I'm actually paying down an asset that I have. So that same money was repurposed into something a little bit more positive, I would say. So really, it's about looking at things, cutting out things, and spending your money in a smarter way. So that was tip 3. Tip 4, I would say, is eliminate debt. Okay, so a lot of people out there do have a debt, and I'm not talking about mortgage debt. I'm talking about consumer debt, credit card debt, line of credit stuff. So I would say, try your best to eliminate these things. If you have credit cards that are 20% and you just keep paying the minimum on it, look at your statement at the end of it. You're going to see that it takes you like 20 years to pay something off, and the only person that's winning here is credit card companies. So I would really try to figure out a way of dealing with this. If you can, go into a bank and get a line of credit. Maybe even if they give you a small line of credit, maybe they're going to give you, $3,000, $5,000 line of credit. Start shifting some of that money over onto your line of credit and start paying it down a little bit more aggressive. Because when your interest level goes down, you're going to be able to start paying these things off a little bit faster. So the best thing you can do is not get into debt, I would say, the first thing. But if you are kind of in that situation right now, I would say you really got to focus on paying down your debt. Okay, and then the last thing I want to leave you guys with is this. I think that we have to all cut out instant gratification. We want things and we want them right now. So, excuse me while I take a sip of this. So I would say is that it's instant gratification that's really going to hurt us all. And especially because I think in the economy that we may end up in, I think that there's a chance that interest rates may go down, and there's going to be a lot of incentives, I believe, sometime in the future for companies to get our money, or at least for us to spend on credit. So I think we have to be very careful about what is going to be happening over here. And if we start buying stuff on credit because of instant gratification, the car, I really think that cars are going to come on sale, because I think for car dealerships, there's been a very crappy year this year so far, and we're middle of June right now. September is usually when they start rolling out the next year of vehicles. So I think that there's going to be incredible savings. If you are in the market to get a car, you might see, an ad that's a little bit more money for a better car or whatever else like that. But I think these are the urges that we have to resist in order to get to the bigger picture. So we got to cut out this thing of instant gratification. The other thing I would say, just along the lines of this, is a small example of mine. So I've been living in my house that I'm in right now for the last 3.5 years. I really didn't want to spend money on building a deck at the time. There was other things that I wanted to do. So you know what? It's 3.5 years, and it just got finished last week or this last week. It cost me, about $5,000, and but it's something that, I waited until the time was right, until, I kind of budgeted and I said, okay, I'm okay to do this. It's not something I could have just went out, put it on line of credit and deal with it on a monthly basis. It's not something I needed. It wasn't a life or death situation. So even something small like that, hey guys, honestly, and not to seem cocky, could I gone out and just put in this deck day one when I moved into the house? Absolutely. Would it have affected me that much? Probably not. But the idea of me kind of doing this is kind of waiting until the time is right, controlling myself, building these habits within yourself. Even the person that came to build the deck, actually to get out of my kitchen into the backyard, there is a little bit of an elevation. So I can't even open that door. For 3.5 years, that door hasn't even been open. Couldn't leave. Anytime I want to go to the backyard, I have to exit the front of my house and walk around to the back of it. Okay, first world problems. But, they asked me, like, so you've never actually come out this door? And I said, no, I haven't. And and they said, why? I said, well, it's a combination of being cheap and lazy. But, for me, I don't like to get carried away with those things. But now that I have it, I think it's awesome. Should I have done it maybe even a year before? Probably. But, it gives you that discipline. It's like muscle. It's like building up these muscles in terms of habits. So these are the things I can kind of leave you with. I know we're a little bit sidetracked today about talking about this. Usually we're all zoned in about real estate, but I think this is an important thing that we all have to try to focus on, especially given that we don't really know what's coming and we can control what we actually have right now. So I think it's a good time to kind of look at what we have and just plan around those things. So I really do want to hear your comments. Please leave them below. What do you guys do in terms of budgeting? Share some stuff that may even help me or other people that are reading these comments. Hope you guys all have an awesome Sunday, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Take care.